Yo, what's going on, Nomads and Drifting Podcast listeners? I'm Brian.
And I'm Monica.
And welcome to the Backspace Nomads, where we share our nerve for gaming, movies, and all the dork in between. On today's episode, we're talking about the controversy going on with Battlefield 5, and then the cosplayer Mieu joins us to school us on the ways of cosplay, because we're going to MegaCon this week. Alright, it's episode 60 of the podcast. It's May 25th. Start the show. Monica, how has your week been? What have you been up to?
Oh my god, dude!
The hell?
You're sitting right next to me!
How did this happen?
So corny. So, this is our very first podcast
Yeah.
in the same room as one another. I can touch your face. And I'm in your house.
Yes, you're in the office where, I've created the podcast for the last year. You are here where all the editing takes place.
This is just amazing.
It's
this
exciting,
is like going through, one of those public broadcast television shows where you get to see the ins and outs of like how ketchup is made. I'm really excited to be here, seeing exactly how the podcast is, post-production. What an amazing ride.
So, how was your flight?
My flight was... I sat next to a lady that fell asleep and busted out her Pepe, female Pepe, the frog blanket. I don't know what was going on. It was so weird.
You sent me the picture of the female Pepe, and I don't know how the Pepe has made it into popular culture. Like, we are in a transitioning period where internet is real. Like, the internet is real now, and it's not comfortable.
It isn't. And I'm just sitting there. I'm like, I'm on my way to Orlando, and I look to my right. I'm like, wow, this is incredible. This is a sign. This is a sign. This is going to be a great trip. So, no, the flight was great. I mean, that's pretty much been my week, though. Like, I was just trying to get everything ready so that I could come out here and do this cast with you and head to MegaCon, which I'm really excited about. I think, we have some missions. We're trying to dive into the world of cosplay.
Mm-hmm.
Something I've always thought was interesting, and I've always been really impressed by people's commitment to making these amazing costumes, but have never been able to commit to myself. So I'm just gonna go ahead and skim the surface. And I'm really excited about the guests that we're having. I know I'm sure she's gonna give us some really great insights and we'll walk away well-versed and ready to talk to some of these, well-versed and informed and ready to talk to some of these cosplayers. But
I'm excited because, cosplay is something that obviously, over the past few years is, growing, and you see it all the time. I've never talked to somebody who has done cosplay that I know of. This is going to be the first time I have a conversation with a cosplayer. I'm pretty excited about it.
Also, it's a little... I think I'm not a shy person, but in some ways, though, I am. And although, I've seen people in cosplay where I'm really excited, or I see what they've done, and I almost want to say something to them, I've always been hesitant. And I've never, ever been like, oh, can I take a photo with you?
Sure.
So my goal here is to just deep dive into the cosplay world, get as many photos as possible. I'm gonna have to come up with some some poses.
Yeah, good poses.
Good poses.
Action poses like cosplay.
Yeah, cosplay. I'm really excited for MegaCon and
Me too.
And just to go see everything going on. Are we gonna do the speed dating thing?
Do you want to do the speed dating thing?
We might.
I'm down for it.
If we do, we have to talk about it.
With who? My girlfriend?
I figured she was going to do it with us.
All right, she could do it with us. Did she not? I think it'll be fun as hell. I really do.
I mean, if we would all have to do it together.
Yeah.
We're going in, we're doing the speed dating thing, and I think it could be fun. But this cast is going to be split up a little bit. It's a little different. We're going to end it after our interview with Mieu, and then come back.
Yeah, we're going to have a post MegaCon cast within this cast. It's gonna be fun. It was a good idea. Like, I forget how we stumbled upon it, but I was like, that will actually be interesting. But before we get into all the MegaConness that's going on in the world, we have to deal with some. The internet has reared its weird little head again with the Battlefield 5 trailer and poster that they just announced this week. So we took a look at the trailer just a little bit ago, and it looks amazing, right? Like, just an extraordinary feat in like graphics and sound. The lighting, it's amazing. But how dare they? They released the cover art for Battlefield 5, and there's a female on that cover, and that just, you can't do that. It's World War II. You can't have females on the cover. Please, excuse me.
Yeah, it's very offensive. Apparently, Battlefield 5 is just trying to make women, just doing too much to make women feel included, and that's for one, that's a disgusting thing that you are doing. That you should never do that ever. But beyond that, you and I were talking, and I was like, well, you actually schooled me a little bit.
I do have a little bit of knowledge. My grandpa was in World War II, was a bombardier, so we always wanted to watch the History Channel and stuff. And there is a well-storied history of women in the Second World War being amazing warriors and being snipers. There's a Russian sniper who has like one of the highest kill counts in the entire war. She's like a bad motherfucker. And that's why they decided to kind of like showcase a woman in World War II on the cover, because that's not something that we talk about. World War II is like, it was for the boys, and it was like the one last ride of the great, like, worldly men and their struggles. I
don't understand why people, and I could say this to almost any type of topic, but I'll go ahead and say it to this one too. I don't understand why people want to be so angry.
Oh, love to be offended.
I don't wake up in the morning and go, how do I get angry today? And so that I'm missing something, because I feel like if I could just fix that about myself, I could be really pissed off right now about Battlefield 5. But unfortunately, I haven't been able to fix that flaw within me, and I don't go onto the internet and go, these things make me enraged. I don't know if there's just some neurons that aren't quite popping off in my head or what, but people, take a nap. Go take a nap. Get over your grouchy. You woke up on the wrong side of the bed. You need a bottle. You need to go take a nap and just chill out a little bit. The game looks amazing.
It looks amazing. And I personally, I don't think you're a full, well-rounded human being because of that. It's 2018. You need to be more mad about stuff on Twitter.
I'm going to practice.
Thank you.
I'm going to try. I think it's something I need to work on.
Well,
I agree.
What is it about internet culture that the minute like a female is, I guess glorified would be the best term, that like all of a sudden all these men just jump on top of it like, you can't do this?
I don't know. The threat that it's fear. I think it's probably fear-based. Like, they feel challenged, or some people feel challenged.
Yeah.
By being presented with these ideas and these ideals. And there's really, 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 really smart people that fuel this type of mentality.
Sure.
That are the leaders of this type of mentality. And you can't deny that too. The reality is that Battlefield 5's trailer is an exciting trailer.
Yeah.
The graphics, just the actual gameplay that they seem to be presenting there was riveting.
Yeah.
And let's go ahead and
that's the first trailer I've watched in a long time where I felt like there was almost a story being told within that trailer, and like it gripped me. And seeing like some of the way like in it, your main character starts being suffocated, like a enemy is putting his hand over your mouth, and then the female comes along and saves your ass by hitting him with a club.
Yeah.
I absolutely love the trailer. I'm excited for Battlefield 5. I was not excited for the last Battlefield.
Yeah.
There's something about this one that I don't know if it's like they got like the cinematography right in their trailer or something like, I am pumped for Battlefield 5. Like I really want to play it, and I'm not someone who enjoys a single player FPS anymore.
Right. Yeah. It looks beautiful. Remains to be seen how the gameplay and how enjoyable it will be. But I will say this, don't be the person that looks at an entire body and then picks out the one mole. If you don't like the cover art, who cares? Go buy the game and shut up.
Stop being offended by everything.
Yeah, it's okay, everybody. Like people like you. You're liked and you're important and
you're loved.
And let's just all have a good time.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna go to a super quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna be bringing on Mieu to talk about some cosplay with us. Be right back. So coming on the podcast, we have Mieu. Mieu, welcome to the Backspace Nomads.
Hello, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. You can find Mieu on Twitter and Instagram at Mieu Cosplay, Mieu Cosplay. You started doing cosplay about 4 years ago. What got you into cosplay? Like, why do you do it?
Why do I do it? Well, I guess my earliest memories of cosplay are being in high school and, growing up, it was not cool to be a nerd. I'm just going to throw that out there. I might be dating myself a little bit, but, and I wanted to go to conventions so bad. I was just like looking at pictures on the internet and I thought cosplay was just the coolest thing ever, but I had nobody to go with. So I just kind of like spent my childhood pining for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I finally, made friends. It didn't take that long to make friends, but cosplay friends in around 2014. And, we started going to conventions together and it was just like my life goals being realized on a small scale. So that's kind of how I got into it. But I've been sewing for a long time. My mom's been a seamstress. So it was just like, I can make cool stuff with the skill that I already know. So that's kind of how it all came together.
So your first convention was 4 years ago?
Yep.
About
first convention. First,
okay.
Yeah. First convention and first cosplay. Like I literally went to that convention just to cosplay. I was more excited about that than anything else.
Right.
Yeah.
So, cosplay it used to be, and I think I agree with you. It used to be this kind of like subculture that was interesting if you were at a convention, but oh my gosh, it would hit the news. These, at like comic conventions and everything, they would say, oh, there's strange people walking around in costumes, and they would actually talk about.
Are we safe still?
Yeah.
And just a Sailor Moon.
Yes, but they'd mention it. They'd mention it in the news. There'd be newspaper articles and like the nerds hit the streets. I'm not joking. I've read stuff like this, and And so I agree with you that back in the day, it was a bold move. You were doing something that was in general not frowned upon, but most definitely like you're a freak.
Yeah.
Like this
Why are you dressing up?
But
it's Halloween. Go home.
Yeah. I've always really thought it was interesting though. And I guess I never really jumped into it, mainly because of the sheer amount of time. Now, Mieu here has spent the longest time she spent on a costume was over a year.
That's amazing.
Of effort, months of effort, and it was the only thing that you were working on. And what was that costume like? How did you decide to create? Why did you decide on that costume, and how in the world did you stay on top of it? Like how can you spend a year creating something like that?
It's actually the backstory behind that costume and why I decided to create it was somewhat tragic and funny at the same time. That's really the basis of my humor. So it's like it was actually kind of a sad story because my husband's a streamer and he participated in the St. Jude Play Live competition in 2015. Yep, 2015. And he won a trip to BlizzCon for the two of us. And I was like, oh my God, this is my moment. I'm going to make an armor cosplay. I had been only cosplaying for about a year at that point. And I was like, I'm going to do it. This is going to be it. I had 2 months to make an armor cosplay.
Oh my gosh.
And I did it. I so did it. You better believe. I made Thunder Fury, or I made a Battle Gear of Might from World of Warcraft. And I mean, it was just like pure armor, full suit of armor. I wore it I felt amazing. I felt like I looked amazing, even though I look back at it, I'm like, oh my God. But I'm there, I'm outside, I'm taking pictures. And for those that don't know, BlizzCon is in LA. And it was the height of, it was November, but that actually doesn't matter. I'm from the Northeast, so I really have no concept of how hot it gets in California,
Yeah.
clearly, because about halfway during the convention, all of a sudden, I had a shoulder plate fall off, and then all of a sudden, like leg plates started falling off. I was like, oh my gosh, what's happening? I was like, okay, tape it back on. We'll keep going, and it just gradually started to fall apart during the convention,
Oh
and it turns
no.
out hot glue is a very bad idea. When you're looking to make an armor cosplay, do not use hot glue to hold it together because it actually will soften up and melt in
Oh
the sun
no.
in LA, 90-degree weather. Didn't think that was possible, but it did. So my costume that I slaved over, literally like all-nighters,
Oh
night and day to get this costume done in time, fell apart after like 4 hours of wearing it, but it was still glorious. And so, like, fueled by spite and like rage, I decided I was like, I'm gonna remake this whole thing. I'm gonna do the whole thing. I'm gonna like take it up a notch. I don't know if I have any before and after pictures, but like it's like night and day. And I was like, I'm not gonna rush it. I'm gonna do it the right way. I, took up like all different new techniques and styles. I read books from other cosplayers, and that's really what fueled my effort, my year-long saga with this costume. And I added Thunder Fury, Blessed Blade of the Windseeker to it,
Nice.
and a shield. I wore Bulwark of Azeroth, so big spiky. Basically, my aesthetic was like death and spikes.
Yeah.
So that's basically the backstory behind that whole costume, was just like a failed attempt, but I felt so awesome wearing it that I just had to give it another shot. And we're going on like 3 years now, and it hasn't fallen apart. So
All right,
we're good.
nice.
Yeah.
You brought up that you were reading like other books and stuff from cosplayers on how to do new technique. What's the cosplay community like when it comes to that type of stuff? Are there like hidden techniques that people don't want to share, or is it like a pretty open community?
You know what? It's interesting because back when I've been following cosplay for a long time,
Mhm.
and back in the early days, it seemed like people were more guarded about their techniques and what they would use. I'd hear people use the term like, I'm an open book cosplayer, meaning I'll tell you what my techniques are. Like, it was actually, people would like flag themselves as being like, hey, I want to share what I've learned, but there were certain people, and I'm assuming these people were like, they were very competitive. They didn't want to,
Yeah.
they were winning money. They were entering competitions where you're investing a significant amount of money in the costume that you're building, and then you're winning money. And so they were much more guarded. But I'll be honest, I have met maybe one person in all of my cosplay friends, like in the community now, that's like that. Just about everybody, the information is so like widespread and so like it's so easy to get information. There's so many communities and groups online, forums and whatnot. It's just, you don't really meet anybody like that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think too, you're talking to a group of people that have truly, I'm not joking, been written about in news articles as being freaks. And then when you have new people coming in, it sometimes is like, wait, look, we've been through hell here.
In my day.
Yeah, in my day,
we got things thrown at us.
Exactly. But I would say, you've been in for 4 years. Have you seen a shift in the community at all within those 4 years? You've been watching the community for a lot longer than that, but what is the community? What is the cosplay community like now? And in comparison to what it's been like previously?
Just bigger. And there's so many more resources. Like, you hear about it, like even the change between 2014 and 2018 was huge. Like, halfway through that, they came out and you would start seeing like on Sci-Fi or some other like reality shows based on cosplay. Like, it's on TV, on like mainstream television now, cosplay. Like, everybody talks about it. Like, everybody's like, oh, I'm going to a convention for the first time. Just convention going in general too has just exploded.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, I'm going to a convention, I have to cosplay. Like, it's considered just an integral part of that culture. So the cosplay community has just exploded. I remember my first PAX East, which was, I think was 2015. And when I went, I was like, oh, compared to, I had only been really to like a couple of local conventions, and I go to ConnectiCon because I'm from Connecticut. And I mean, it's not too small, but it's, like, I think it's like 20,000 people total across the whole weekend.
Sure.
But it's like cosplay, hardcore. Everybody cosplays. There's cosplay like wall to wall. You see people just like all out cosplay. Go to PAX East in 2015, not a whole lot of cosplay. A little bit, but not a whole lot. It was just the sheer ratio of attendees to cosplayers just not really there. This past year, like it's tripled, quadrupled the number of people cosplaying. Like everybody cosplays now.
Yeah.
It's really just it's growing, and I don't see it stopping really.
Well, like, what's like the easiest point of entry? Like, all these new people are like, the scene's exploding, everyone's getting into it. How is someone like easily going to get into cosplaying and not like kind of embarrass themselves?
I have this theory that a lot of the new IPs that are coming out, they design their characters and stuff with cosplay in mind. Like I have this like it's like a conspiracy theory because like
I love those.
I'm like that's a secret, guys. Right. So like when Overwatch came out, I was actually at BlizzCon when Overwatch was announced, and I was like, wow, everybody's wearing a whole lot of spandex, and one of the biggest like arenas, you know, genres that is cosplayed as superheroes, because I mean, you look at comic books and whatnot, and you can have super detailed, like from the movies, like Batman Begins style, like hugely detailed suits, or you could have just like, okay, you know, what Rogue wears in the comics, it's just a basic, you know, green leotard, or, you know, with gold emblems on it, and Overwatch comes out and I'm just like, wow, that's like screaming for a costume, like mass merchandise, like costumes, like printed out, and lo and behold, like you can get a, you know, a printed diva or tracer or whatever, you know, outfit, and it looks great. And you know, it's very widely available in a lot of places. Like they do sell like, oh, Tracer's jacket and, you know, Diva's headset and the props and whatnot. Like these companies now have cosplay in mind, and it's so easy to come by, and you know, other companies jump all over it. You can find it very easily online. You know, I'm sure if you thought of it, somebody's probably making it. You can probably get it on Etsy, you know, things like that. So it's just because it's so popular, even if you're not a maker, you can almost always find stuff that's being made, or find someone who can make it for you.
Because the community has become so large, are there, you know, I guess is there a hierarchy to all of this, like the OGs, the people that, you know, are competitive cosplayers kind of within a different online forum than more you know, casual cosplayers? You know, how do you, I guess, what does the scene look like?
It's very interesting because my experience with cosplay has been nothing but literally everybody is so friendly and so accepting. No one has ever like thrown shade or anything about, oh, your costume is like, it's crap, or like, you know, you painted that thing on, like, you know, what are you doing? Like, people are just not mean. I've never had anybody say anything mean or nasty about me, about anybody else. Like, you know, how people will like be like, oh, look at that guy. You know, I've never heard that, but like I've heard things like people say, and I can't, again, this is not my experience, but people say like it's a cross genre thing. It depends on what fandom you're in. Like, oh, Disney cosplayers are so like so competitive, or they're so mean, or in Game of Thrones cosplayers, oh, if you don't look like the character, then you can't cosplay it. Like I've heard things like that, but in my mind, that's just not in the spirit of cosplay. It really isn't. And when you get into that stuff doesn't fly. If you get into like the larger groups where you're just celebrating cosplay together, you wouldn't even dream of saying something like that. Like, oh, you don't look like Arya Stark. Why would you cosplay her? Like, people just don't do that. You know, I feel like that's the minority, and it gets a bad rap, but honestly, it's just the most inclusive group that I've been in, and there's really no hierarchy. I think the people that have been in it long enough to be the experts and the OGs, they appreciate it for what it is, and that's why they joined it in the first place, the spirit of it. So
it's also hard to be angry when you're dressed up.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I've ever gotten dressed up, like purposefully dressed up, and just had a real bad time.
Right,
or just been walking around furious because other people that dressed up didn't look as dressed up as I did. So that would be a really strange approach to like Halloween, you know?
Well,
or
that's
like any like, or a costume party or whatever.
Right. Like, who walks around with that kind of mentality, just even in their life? You know, you're doing something that you love. Other people like to do it too. So you must relate to that on some level. I mean, come on. So
exactly.
I don't know.
So one of the things, well, you talked about this memory, you know, this memory with cosplay where, you know, your your armor's starting to fall off of you. Is that your worst memory with cosplay?
Probably. Yeah. Yeah, I've been lucky. It's funny. So, like, I don't know if you guys relate to this. Maybe I'm just crazy, but I was in college once, believe it or not. And like, I would have nightmares sometimes that I would be like, oh, I forgot this exam. I come to my class and I have an exam and I forgot to study for it. Things like that. Like, I used to have like little mini nightmares about that kind of stuff. Nowadays, I have nightmares, no joke. Oh my God, I went to a convention. I forgot all my cosplays at home. Oh my God, the convention is in a week and I haven't started on this. Like, this is like, or it's falling apart or I broke it. I have like serious like nightmares about that. And I don't know if it was triggered by that episode where it was like, okay, my costume is falling apart. But I think cosplayers who make their costumes live in that acute knowledge, like, oh my God, is this going to hold up? Like, okay, I got to pack electrical tape and a hot glue gun and sneak it into the hotel, like make sure that I have like repairs on hand. It's just a reality because even as you're making it and you're like trying it out and everything, you're pretty aware of like how things can go horribly wrong.
See,
so
I had no idea about the repair stuff. Last MegaCon I was at, they literally had a guy walking around with the whole like repair kit set up for all the cosplayers. I had no idea
I saw
about
a picture
that.
of something like that. Yeah, I saw it where he was like the cosplay repairman and he had like, like the tool belt and everything. I was like, that's such a good idea. Such a good idea. At most conventions, actually, they have like a cosplay repair lounge. Like they have a lounge that's all set up and you can go in there and they'll have glue guns, they'll have tape, they'll have scissors, they'll have even like makeup stuff to do your hair and makeup, fix your wigs and everything, hairspray. Like they usually like gear it out. It's pretty much a staple at most conventions.
It doesn't really surprise me that you would have nightmares just because there is, I don't want to say pressure. And maybe it is. But you put so much like blood, sweat, and tears into
it's an emotional investment.
It is an emotional investment. And I think maybe, if you're, doing more of like the, like, oh, I was able to just purchase a really exceptional outfit off eBay or whatever, your investment's a little bit lower. But I know for you in particular, you build all of these from scratch. And that is a ton of work. I mean, truly, that is a huge amount of commitment. I don't know if you understand it, but I don't know if a lot of people that like enjoy looking at cosplay fully understand the level of commitment that it takes. So
it's true.
getting to a convention and forgetting your costume. I mean, I think that's like tear worthy almost.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't even imagine that.
I went to a convention. It was actually probably one of the more pathetic things. Like I went to a convention, it was close. I live about an hour away from New York City, and this convention was in the heart of New York City, but it was also in the dead of winter when we were having like sub-zero Fahrenheit temperatures. Like it was bitterly cold. So there's no way. I realized I had spent this time on this beautiful headdress that was just like all beaded and had like metallic filigree and stuff just to go over a costume that I spent like it was supposed to be like a casual costume, but of course I don't know the meaning of restraint. So I created this beautiful headdress for it. I forgot it at home. And I was like, I just had a moment in my hotel room where I was like, I could be really pissed about this and, let it ruin my weekend, or I could just get over it because I'm going to have a blast. And the rest of the costume, it's going to be fine. It wasn't like I'd lost, I mean, I might have felt a little differently if I'd like forgotten like the clothing part of it or something serious, but it was like one of those pieces that I was so excited to wear because it was one of the most detailed and beautiful pieces in my mind of the costume, and I forgot it. And it still has never seen the light of day because, we invest so much time and effort into these costumes and then we wear them once, most of the time. Yeah. So, you have to encounter it in order to just have the moment and just kind of be like, you know what, I can't let this ruin my good time. I've spent so much getting here. I have to get over it. I'm a big girl, gotta get over it.
What's your favorite costume that you've made?
Ooh, okay. So I always, I have to have a nod to that armor cosplay. I love it and everything, but honestly, I just have like this one costume where I feel like, wow, I'm never gonna make something this beautiful ever again. Like this is my like magnum opus. I'll try, but I probably won't. Yeah. I can't even. This is gonna sound. Are you ready? I'm about to reveal my power level. Like I'm a My Little Pony fan, big time.
Okay.
And they have this they have this like spin-off show where they're not ponies anymore. I can't even get into it, but they're humans. But they have to wear clothes. And I'm sorry.
You're fine.
It's called Equestria Girls. I'm sorry. That's what it's called. There's this costume that this character wears, and it's based off of a costume worn by the Beatles for the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. So it's like the satin marching band costume, and I literally I made it out of. Oh, it's just I can't even describe it. I learned how to dye fabric for it. It's in this beautiful pink and blue and aqua and purple. It's just rhinestones everywhere. I just covered the whole thing in rhinestones. I actually researched like the actual military style. It's called like an aiguillette or something like that. The cording and everything that they put on it. I did like tons of research on this stupid thing to like make it like somewhat accurate. Like actually use the kind of trimming and everything that they would use. And I hand wove everything. And it was just I gush every time I look at this thing. I'm like, I'll never make anything this beautiful ever again.
What?
That's so impressive.
Is that a thing with cosplayers where you guys only want to wear the outfit once and then like you're done with it?
No, I want to wear it multiple times, but a lot of times the situation never arises. Like I do this thing. Maybe it's just me. I'm going to be honest. It might be just me. Again, because I don't know the meaning of restraint. Like I made this amazing costume. It was my first time learning LEDs. So I had this, it's basically, again, it's a My Little Pony thing. But anyway, it's basically a superhero outfit. So it's my first time using spandex. I used this beautiful sparkling holographic spandex. I put LEDs in the wig. So it had like gemstones with LEDs in it that would pulse on and off in the wig, which was styled into an updo. Like I was so proud of that thing. And it was like probably one of the coolest things that I ever made. I literally wore it once because the following year I just got too excited and I made too many costumes for the following year and I just wear them. So it's just I haven't gotten back around to that costume. And every time I remember it, I'm like, oh, too late. My lineup's already full. Maybe next year.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
So we're going to MegaCon tomorrow. And we're going to see a lot of amazing cosplayers there. And I know that you've had, photo shoots done with you. You guys can see some of those pictures. If you guys check Mieu out on Twitter or Instagram, it's MIEU Cosplay. But when people have approached you, I'm curious because I'm going to be talking to people tomorrow and I want to be able to make the choice on whether I'm going to be annoying or, accepting. What's the most annoying question is there a common question that people ask cosplayers or an annoying approach that people have with cosplayers? Like, what has been your experience? And I'm saying this also because I read, this was years ago, that there are people that will go up and pretend to, be professional photographers as well, and will try to, interview and get cosplayers involved. And really, they're just, these are like their personal photos. I don't know how accurate that is, but I'm just curious what your experience has been in that realm, being approached, etc. And if you've had any annoying questions that get asked all the time. Like you're like literally every single one of the ones you guys are asking.
So I just wanted to touch on that one specific scenario that you brought up too, before I get into just kind of the general questions, because I feel like there's something to unpack there. Because some people they'll come up and they'll have like their like DSLR or whatever camera like right out in the open, and they'll say, hey, I'm a photographer, do you mind if I get some photos with you, da 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 da. And they might, I guess the assumption or the revelation that they might be, they're just their personal photos. In my mind, like me saying, oh, look at my professional photos. I'm a cosplayer. I look at my professionally taken photos, and people are like, if you think about like the normies of the world, right? Like they look at cosplay and they look at like Jessica Negri and everybody who are like making money from cosplay. And if I'm like, if I show like a professional photo, they're like, oh wow, I wonder, does this girl like make money or whatever? And it turns out I'm just a hobbyist, but I'm not trying to say I'm anything really that I'm not, but I have a cosplay page. Is that cringy? I don't know. That I have social media and whatnot, but I don't make money off of my costumes. Even if I did, it probably would never break even, but that's another story entirely. But I always treat people, even if I'm like, I don't know if this person is a professional or not, or they conduct themselves professionally, or they might be just starting out. Everybody starts out somewhere, right? Like if you're just starting out as a photographer or as a streamer or whatever you're trying to like break into, whatever scene you're trying to break into, everybody starts somewhere, and I don't gain anything by saying no or treating them like, oh, you're not really a photographer. Oh, this guy like pretended to be a photographer. Well, maybe he wants to be a photographer,
Right.
or this is something that gives him joy or her. And, I'm not here and they're doing the best they can, and it's what they love, and it doesn't hurt me at all. So, I don't, to me, that if someone were to say that to me, oh, that guy was like pretending to be a photographer, that kind of says more about them than it does about the person that was taking photos, unless they were being like creepy, like weird.
This was the article that I read was certainly about, I think it was actually Comic-Con, and it was about a couple of people there that were, it was like a lure. Yeah.
Come back to my hotel room.
Yeah.
And he's got like lights set up around the hotel. Like, why don't you just take photos here? No, boudoir shoots are not things that everybody does. No, sir.
But that's great to hear that has never been your experience, that you haven't, been approached in that way. And I agree with you. I think that's a really good way to look at, a hobbyist versus, professional. You're still getting some awesome photos out of it. And, so, but in the same strain,
in general,
when people come up, do you get asked one particular question more often than not? Is there a theme? Is it,
I'll say no, probably, other than people asking honest questions about the costume. I will say like, things that are no's, don't do this. Like, it's not like it's obvious, right? It's like, okay, if I'm eating, don't come up to me and ask me to take a photo if I'm like sitting down eating lunch.
You're
or
just sitting there, spoon in mouth, just staring up, like, okay, thank you.
What? Or if I've like disassembled something, like for example, that big armor costume, I can barely move in it, and like I literally just stand around to look cool. And once I'm done for the day, I like start taking it off, and I literally have people around me helping to carry the pieces, and people will stop and be like, can you like put all your stuff back on so I can take a photo of you? It's like, no, I'm sorry. No, I can't.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like just some of the obvious stuff, but I feel like some people just get too excited and they don't think. And then there's always the people that don't ask, and they just like take pictures as a drive-by, and I'm just like, well, sorry, you have a crappy picture of me. I would have stopped if you just asked,
Yeah.
And
it's
funny though, because once
like just
exactly
put the camera right there. Oh, got it.
Like right out of the corner of my eye, I see the red light go off. I'm like, oh hey. But yeah, I mean, as long as it's funny, because once one person asks, then other people will suddenly like be like, oh, that person had like the guts to ask. I'm gonna take a picture with them, and it's just, don't be shy. Just ask. It's really, it's not. Don't worry about being annoying. If the person's not obviously like doing something else, they will probably be happy for you to take a photo of them.
Okay.
How many photos are we gonna get with cosplayers tomorrow?
1 million.
1 million?
Now that I know that there's no way for me to be annoying unless they're eating or taking their costume off, I'm getting 1 million. I mean,
that's my guideline. I can't imagine. I spend so much time on these things. I'm like, come, pay attention to me. Look at me.
Right?
Look at this thing I made.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Awesome.
Well, thank you for coming on the show. Again, that's Mieu on Twitter and Instagram. It's Mieu Cosplay, Mieu Cosplay. And we're going to go to break. And when we come back, we will have experienced MegaCon.
Woo.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. Have fun.
Thank you for being here. Well, thank you for sitting through that break, Nomads. We successfully MegaCon.
We definitely successfully MegaCon.
We're so successful, we're no longer near each other. I don't know. We came home. Came back to my place. We're gonna record the podcast, and there was a big nope. I don't know if we're too old for this or if MegaCon's just too big for us. I don't know which one is true.
I think it might just be too big. I certainly would have had no energy at all. It would have been like, we did it. What more do you want from us, people?
Yeah. Some stats from MegaCon that Monica pulled up. Over 100,000 people attended that convention. It pulled in over $69 million with an M. Million.
Yes.
Oh,
It's
that
freaking
was
crazy.
that was a crazy convention.
It was. And you had gone last year.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I attended last year, and this absolutely. I'm not sure if the numbers we'll say it was like twice the size. It
Okay.
felt like it was twice the size of the convention.
Yeah.
There was way more exhibitors, way more artists there. The amount of people there you were crammed in there. Where last year you kind of had some breathing room. You could walk around. You could kind of stop and look at some of the people's art stuff without feeling like there was just a wave of people coming behind you to knock you over.
Right. We did go on Saturday too. I don't know if other days might have been a little bit slower, but it certainly was very convention-y. Like I can handle crowds when I know what I'm in for, and I knew I was in for it. But like you said, you just kind of get washed. You feel guilty. There were people joking, saying that we needed stop signs in order to help direct traffic. And you would get into these weird blockades. Like I can't even explain it. It's just so awkward.
Oh,
you're trying to get across, and they're trying to get across in a different direction. And there's like 50 of you, and you're all just kind of shuffling around, like rubbing your bodies on one another. And then you make it eventually, like 5 minutes later.
If people are stopping other people to take pictures of the outfits, it's done for. You are in like a 1 minute to 2 minute like traffic jam. You're just waiting for it to unfold.
Yeah. So I think that, there were a lot. I was reading through like a lot of the response to MegaCon, what people thought of it. In general, it was extremely well attended. What's crazy is I have flown back. I am back in Cleveland now, and flying home, there were multiple people on the plane talking about the convention, and they were strangers.
Crazy.
They were just like, "Oh, you went to MegaCon?" Yeah. And they just started talking about it. I had no clue that there would have been that many people. I was not expecting that at all. And there is in general, a lot of the feedback that's come from MegaCon is that there is a huge sense of community there, that these are their people. And I will say that it comes across as a very welcoming convention. I think, especially for its size, it's surprisingly welcoming. Not only that, but I was expecting MegaCon to be more of a comic-centric convention, 100%. I don't know why, but I really was thinking it was going to be more comic-driven, and their comics are a huge element to it, but by far and away not the only element. There were a handful of other aspects there, anime, just TV, movie, film.
A little bit of gaming.
A little bit of gaming. Yeah. I mean, just
this
a ton.
This is a MegaCon, Monica, right? It's a MegaCon.
I didn't know how MegaCon was going to be.
So I don't know. Do I want to dig in this or not? Like, I feel like the gaming nerd aspect of this culture, the nerd culture, just isn't represented. Like, we had a tiny little arcade of like console players, and then other than that, we're frowned upon. But like, I don't know.
I will say that gaming was probably the most underrepresented element there. I felt like anime, just with the artwork and everything, was more represented. But you know what? Gaming was represented not by, I mean, I know we're going to touch on this a little bit later, but not necessarily by the booths or the companies that were pushing it or had paid to be there, but by the cosplayers for sure. There were a lot of gaming cosplayers, including like there's tons of Disney there too. And I don't know if it's because we're in Orlando or what, but there's actually a lot of Disney cosplayers too. So
I'll say that's why it's an Orlando thing. Like people like freak out for like the princesses here. So all right, let's talk about some highlights from MegaCon. Harry Potter escape rooms.
Yeah, we did it. Why are you giggling?
It's so weird because like escape rooms are kind of like this brand new like niche thing, and then like why is it the Harry Potter people that jumped on top of it? Like I love, like, my girlfriend's a big Harry Potter fan, so I kind of giggle because of that. And we had planned on going into one, but they sold out like early on.
Yeah, and they were really well received. People were very excited about them. I don't know exactly. It just seems like such an endeavor to have enough escape rooms to handle that quantity of people. Obviously, they sold out, so they couldn't handle everybody. But a lot of like positivity towards that element.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. The Harry Potter stuff just like is the funniest thing to me because it's just like all of a sudden they like punch nerd culture in the face and they're like, we're here. and we buy a lot of cool stuff. So people are going to be excited for us to be here.
Yep.
Other like another one was like all the people getting tattooed, all the tattoo booths they have huge rows of them.
Yeah, they did have a ton of tattoo artists there. And as we were going through, I would be so nervous. Like I was thinking about it and like, imagine like if I got like a butt tattoo here, like would they do that?
I don't think they would.
Would they? They wouldn't. I don't know. There were people like that had like their sides lifted up and everything. I don't know, but a ton, almost all of the artists were saying that they were completely booked. Like you couldn't get anything done there. And I started thinking about it. Like when I travel, sometimes I'll get a magnet for my fridge, right? Like I'm just imagining the people that go to conventions and they get tattoos.
Yeah,
kind of cool.
It is cool. And I think this is like one of those like circuits where like the tattoo artists will announce that they're going to be at MegaCon and they have like 15 to 30 slots open. And there are people who actively seek them out because they want to get tattoos from them. And maybe Orlando's closer than at like Atlanta for them to drive to. So they're, they love going to the conventions and getting tattoos because of that. Because I think they're cheaper rates and stuff. It's not like a big session. It's just like this small compact thing. Because I've actually really thought about it, like searching out like somebody to get a tattoo at a convention because I am tattooed. And I do kind of want that story. It was like, no, I was at like, MegaCon and I got this sweet like Zelda like face on my left arm that, my kids are going to hate me for.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe I could get like another mole tattooed on me.
Another mole?
Like I don't have any tattoos, but I don't really want one, but I could, but I already have lots of freckles. So I could get a tattoo, but it would just be a tattoo of a freckle. And then when I tell people I have a tattoo, I'll show it to them and be like, that's my tattoo.
I don't know if you're dumb or I'm dumb because I really thought you were talking about an actual mole. I thought you have a hidden mole tattoo this whole time, and I had no idea about it. Okay.
No, I don't have a mole animal on me. Just burrowing. But if I did, I would put that on my butt.
Oh yeah, that's where we go. Hey mom, I got a mole tattoo on my ass. How many celebrities were actually at this convention? Like, we got heavy hitters in Orlando now. The big ones are coming.
They do. Well, they're going because it's so expensive to meet them. We unfortunately, I really, really wanted to meet Jeff Goldblum, but I couldn't pay $100 for the lulz.
Yeah.
But I did see him. He was in a hat and he looked gorgeous from
very
50
fancy
feet away. Hat.
Yeah. Great jacket. The funniest, I think, was just John Cena being there.
Oh, yes.
And we're walking by the John Cena booth. Some guy dressed up as like a medieval band member had one of those trumpets with like the flag hanging underneath the trumpet and just started rocking like the John Cena sound. Like,
it was so funny. It was so funny. I'm glad we were there for that. That was hilarious.
And he just did it over and over until security told him to come stop. Like he just kept going. It was like, I love nerds. Like only a nerd would do that. There's not a normal person in society that would think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
But we do.
Yep.
And then like the biggest thing there, the cosplay.
Yeah. I feel like Mieu got us really set up to like really appreciate it. Like I knew what to look for. I was excited. I was paying very close attention to, just how many people were in cosplay. Yep. And I didn't feel shy about it at all. It was an incredible amount of cosplay there. I mean, not everyone had put hours and hours into their costumes. Some of them were definitely like off shelf, but oh my gosh, I would say that more than half, I would estimate that around 60% of the people were dressed up in some fashion.
Definitely.
Maybe even more than that.
I feel like we don't do it right. Like I kind of felt like I was out of place because I wasn't dressed up in cosplay.
Me too.
Yeah. Like we're the normies now.
Yeah.
Like, it's us. We're the problem.
Yeah, we are the problem. But it was incredible. So many people were dressed up and it was really, really impressive. And there was just, like I said, lots of different skill levels. One of the cutest things in the world too is just seeing kids dressed up in cosplay. There was this little kid with this porg. He was dressed up like a porg and his mask was just like a cardboard and it looked kind of derpy. And it was just the cutest thing. I loved it so much. There was just a lot of different skill levels, different ages cosplaying. You know,
And the grand finale of MegaCon, the Masters of Cosplay competition, which we attended. We were in the audience for that. That
we watched
was
the
an
whole
extraordinary event.
thing. It was.
One for the memory books, Monica.
It was. There was a little bit of elements of awkwardness to it, not because of the cosplayers themselves, but because of the questions that they were asked. It was like almost offsetting a little bit, you know, because you want to enjoy their cosplay, and then they're put up against these like kind of awkward questions, and then no one knows how to respond. But that aside, that aside, in general, this was not the first competition that I've watched.
It was my first.
But it was by far the best that I've seen. Now,
really?
Again, yes, but I haven't watched a competition for years. So I think that that's also a testament to cosplay, where it's headed, how accepted it is, the fact that people have to kind of like, they have to put more work into things in order to be able to be competitive. And from that regard, it was really, really impressive. I mean, just there were so many times where someone would come up onto the stage and I was blown away.
Yeah. And like the crowd was too, like there'd be people who come up who they would just say like, you know, they had different levels of cosplay competition. So like the very, like, this is their first competitions they've ever done. Don't expect anything fantastic from these people. And those people walk out on stage and kill the crowd. The crowd went nuts for some of these competition or competitors that they were like, they're just starting out, you know, give them a break. You're like, they're just starting out? This thing looks amazing. Like, what are you talking about? What are you underselling here?
Yeah. So I think a couple of my favorites were in the youth category was the pumpkin head reaper.
That was really good. Yeah.
Was great. And then I also really loved Big Daddy from BioShock. Like,
the Big Daddy one was amazing.
Incredible. I don't even know how that person was walking around. It was nuts. Did you have any favorites?
I did. The Five Nights at Freddy one, where all the insides were exposed. Like I don't play a lot. But that was like supposed to be a big character from the game, I guess. So this person just had all these like wires exposed and their head was like hanging apart. Like it was amazing.
The clown mask that rattles back and forth was really,
Yeah. Other than that, the Pickle Rick Grimes was just hilarious.
I forgot about them.
I don't know who the blue character is from Rick and Morty. I'm not a watcher of the show. But they did like Pickle Rick Grimes and then something Daryl Dixon. And those two were just the highlight of the show for me, because when they were on stage during the judging and stuff, there was like background music playing and they never stopped shaking their hips the entire time. Yeah. They were just back and forth, like they're having the best time in the world. And they just hilarious. Other than that, I think it was like Ronan the Destroyer who won one of his categories. He was just this massive over the top comic book character and looked like he was like straight out of the comic book on stage. Like loved it. Just absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I think from watching that though, and participating, and then just going around the show. I mean, we started this off, this cast off talking with Mieu about cosplay. It really is a welcoming environment, 100%. Like, you know, it was a really supportive crowd to the cosplayers. And one of the elements that I liked about the convention as a whole is that they have meetup times for people that like everyone that's dressed up like Deadpool or Spider-Man. And we walked past this one group and they were having a dance off. It was a Deadpool dance off. And like, I love that. I love that. You know, it's really fun. And as a whole, I thought MegaCon was impressive. I really enjoyed it. I do feel like I should have brought $1 million to spend there, because I felt as though that was what I was supposed to be doing. The majority of was just like take my money. But it was fun, and I would definitely go again. So Brian, expect to see me in your house.
Ooh, MegaCon 2019. Maybe the Nomads will have a booth.
Oh yeah.
No, just like I love MegaCon. That was I definitely had a lot more fun this year, and I think it's because I participated in events. Like I went and saw the cosplay stuff. I was more there to like be willing to jump into it. So I'm excited for again. Like I'm going to go to every cosplay contest thing at conventions I can go to. I think we watched one with like the TwitchCon one. We watched it from our B&B. And we're like, oh, this is cool. Being in that crowd is completely different. And like, I want to be in the crowd at the theater because like it's like electric there. And you just don't realize until you sit in the crowd how nuts people are going for some of these cosplay costumes.
Yeah.
And I just want to hit more conventions. Like, I think I want to hit some more smaller conventions that are a little bit more like casual in terms of like not packed in with people.
Right. And a little bit easier to create that sense of community that, you know, people are really striving for. I agree. I think it would be really fun.
All right. Well, thanks for coming to Orlando, Monica, and doing MegaCon.
Yeah, it was great.
That's going to do it for episode 60 of Backspace Nomads. Thank you again to our cosplay custom game on Mieu, at Mieu Cosplay, Mieu Cosplay on Twitter and Instagram. Make sure to hit her up, like and follow all her stuff because she's amazing. And I don't know how she's just not like crushing at these conventions. She needs to get in there. Like,
she should be competitive. I agree.
Yeah. That does it for this episode of the cast. Find us on Twitter at Backspace Nomads. We'll see you guys for episode 61 next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.